All right. So you sent over all these articles about Saudi Arabia and their big move into lithium.
Yeah.
And I gotta say, I was immediately intrigued.
It's fascinating stuff, really.
Yes, it is. I mean, we've got breaking news from Reuters and some serious analysis from the World Economic Forum.
Even some pretty strong opinions coming out on social media.
Yeah, exactly. So the big question is Saudi Arabia really serious about this white gold? Or is this just, I don't know, some kind of PR stunt as the world shifts away from oil?
Yeah, I think that's what we're trying to figure out, right? What's really going on here? Is this a genuine shift or just, like you said, some kind of strategic play?
Right.
One thing that jumped out at me, and I don't know if you noticed this too, but it seems to tie in pretty directly with their Vision 2030 plan,
Oh, yeah, definitely.
which, if you remember, is all about diversifying their economy.
Right, moving away from that total reliance on oil.
Exactly. So lithium fits right into that.
Okay, that makes sense. But how exactly are they going about this? I mean, some of these articles talk about massive new lithium discoveries.
Yeah.
Like right there in their own oil fields.
Yeah, there was one article that really caught my eye, and I think it was from, was it Reuters?
I think so.
Yeah. They were talking about this white gold rush happening right in their backyard.
You're right, in their backyard.
Literally. Like they're finding this stuff in the brine from their existing oil wells.
Whoa, that's pretty incredible. And I think they even mentioned a Saudi startup.
Yeah, yeah. Lithium Infinity.
Right, Lithium Infinity.
And they're working with, the big guys like Aramco and Ma'aden to figure out how to extract this stuff.
So they could be sitting on a gold mine, literally, and they could even use their existing infrastructure.
That's right, yeah. Which would give them a huge advantage, obviously.
Absolutely. I mean, if it works out, right?
Yeah, well, that's the big question mark. I mean, extracting lithium from oil field brine, even with this new tech, is still pretty new.
Okay.
And it's not clear yet if they can scale it up to, meet global demand.
Yeah, and one of the sources did quote a Saudi minister who was, well, he was a bit more cautious, I guess.
Yeah.
Said domestic production was still in the very early stages.
Right. Still work in progress for sure.
So what's plan B then? Are they putting all their eggs in this one basket?
Oh, not at all. They're looking overseas as well.
Oh, where to?
This Chile.
Chile, wow.
Yeah. They're apparently very interested in investing in Chilean lithium mines, which
Which makes sense, I guess, because Chile is...
one of the world's top lithium producers.
Exactly. They've got those huge salt flats, right?
That's right. Those massive salt flats where they evaporate the brine to extract lithium.
Yeah, I remember reading about that process.
It's fascinating, but also pretty controversial. Uses a lot of water, and there are concerns about the environmental impact.
Especially in those already arid regions.
Exactly. So, even as they're trying to position themselves as leaders in this new green energy future, they're already running into some of those thorny ethical and environmental issues.
Yeah, it's definitely not as simple as just digging up some white gold.
It's definitely more complicated than that. And it's not just Chile either.
Oh.
They're exploring all sorts of avenues, acquiring stakes in existing lithium companies.
Oh.
And, wait for this, they're even looking into extracting lithium from seawater.
Wait, what? Seawater? Seriously?
Seriously. It is possible, though. I mean, much more difficult than extracting it from brine.
Yeah, I can imagine.
The concentration is much lower in seawater, so you need some really advanced technology to get it out, and that means a lot of energy, high costs, and, well, who knows what the environmental impacts might be.
Yeah, it's a lot to consider.
It is, but it seems like they're really determined to explore every option.
Wow, that's commitment.
Yeah, it is.
So it's not just a lithium bandwagon they're jumping on. It's like a whole lithium express train they're building.
It really is.
Domestic production, international investments, cutting-edge technology. They're playing 3D chess here.
That's a great way to put it. It's a multi-pronged strategy, for sure.
Yeah.
And it gets even more interesting when you bring Aramco into the picture.
Oh, yeah, Aramco.
They seem to be the driving force behind a lot of this.
Yeah.
And they're not just looking at extraction. They're also investing heavily in refining and what they call downstream processing.
Downstream processing.
Yeah, good question. Basically, it means they're aiming to control the whole lithium value chain.
So from extraction to refining to actually producing the battery components.
Exactly.
So instead of just selling raw lithium, they're trying to create a whole sophisticated industry in Saudi Arabia, turning that white gold into the gold standard for EV batteries.
Yeah.
Okay, but that's a risky move, isn't it? I mean, they're pouring billions into this. What happens if this whole EV thing doesn't take off as expected?
Right, or if they can't scale up their extraction efforts.
Exactly. It's a big gamble.
It is a gamble, no doubt about it. But It's not like they're betting on a long shot here. I mean, that World Economic Forum report, the one you sent over, it predicts that, get this, global demand for lithium is going to triple by 2030.
Triple. Wow, that's enormous.
It is.
But if everyone is scrambling for lithium, isn't that just going to lead to shortages and price hikes? I mean, didn't one of the articles mention that was already happening?
Yeah, you're right. That's a real concern. Supply chain bottlenecks are already starting to pop up.
Right.
And remember, extracting lithium, it's not easy.
Yeah.
And it's not cheap.
No, it's not.
Plus, most of the world's production is concentrated in just a handful of countries. Mainly Australia and those South American salt flats we talked about.
So it sounds like we could be trading one resource dependency for another.
Yeah, it's like
Except this time it's white gold that everyone's after.
Yeah, that's the big worry, isn't it?
It is.
Like, how do we make sure this transition to a more sustainable energy future doesn't just create a whole new set of geopolitical tensions and resource struggles?
Exactly. I mean, I'm all for cleaner energy, but not if it means repeating all the same mistakes we made with oil. Right. It's like we're building this amazing new house, right? And lithium is, I don't know, it's like the foundation and the wiring all at the same time.
That's such a good analogy.
We need it, but we got to make sure it's sourced responsibly and used efficiently.
Exactly. And that's where, I think the social media commentary gets really interesting.
Oh, yeah.
You see, you have some people who are praising Saudi Arabia, saying they're taking the lead in this new electric era. But then you have others who are
a little more skeptical.
Yeah, more skeptical. Yeah. They see this as, they see it as a way for Saudi Arabia to maintain its global influence.
Right, even as the world moves away from oil.
Exactly. And they're worried about history repeating itself with white gold becoming the new tool for,
For geopolitical maneuvering?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, I saw some of those comments, too. People are definitely concerned about that.
And it's a valid concern, for sure.
It is.
It raises these big questions about who's controlling the supply chains, who benefits, and, who ultimately pays the price.
Right. Who bears the environmental and social costs.
Exactly.
But, remember those comments we saw about Saudi Arabia focusing on the refining and processing side of things?
Yeah.
I mean, maybe that's a sign that they are thinking long term.
That's an interesting thought.
Right. Like, they're trying to build a sustainable industry, not just, exploit a resource and run.
Yeah. Focusing on those downstream processes, that's smart, economically speaking.
Right.
It adds value, creates jobs within their own country. It's like,
And like they're aiming to become the Intel of EV batteries.
Exactly. Instead of just digging stuff up and shipping it out, they're controlling the technology, the innovation.
Right. Which could give them a real edge.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And they've got the resources and the infrastructure to do it.
Yeah.
They've been managing complex energy supply chains for decades. Now it's just a matter of applying that expertise to this new electric frontier.
It's almost like they're trying to rebrand themselves, like from the kingdom of oil to the kingdom of lithium.
Maybe that's part of the strategy.
Right.
I mean, they're definitely aware of how this looks, right? This whole shift to lithium, it aligns perfectly with their Vision 2030 plan.
Yeah, it does.
And it lets them present themselves as these forward-thinking leaders on the global stage.
So it's not just about economics, is it? It's about image, too. It's about projecting a certain kind of national identity.
Exactly. It's this fascinating mix of economic ambition, environmental positioning, and, even a bit of national pride, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, I get that. It reminds me of that article about their investments in Lucid Motors, that American EV company.
Oh, yeah, right.
Weren't they one of the early backers of Lucid?
They were. And they've invested billions.
Billions, wow.
Yeah. And they even launched their own EV brand, Sear.
Oh, that's right. So they're not just interested in the batteries. They want to be players in the EV market itself.
That's right.
Wow. So they're really going all in on this electric future. It's like they're building a whole new economy from scratch.
It's a bold move, for sure, and it's happening incredibly fast. But, it does raise some concerns, doesn't it?
Oh, yeah, for sure.
I mean, if they're going to be leading this charge on EVs, they got to walk the walk when it comes to sustainability.
Exactly. They can't just talk about a green future while, pushing ahead with potentially harmful extraction methods.
Right.
They have to show a real commitment to responsible sourcing and strong recycling programs.
Yeah. Otherwise, it all starts to look a bit hypocritical, doesn't it?
Yeah, exactly.
And, the world is watching. Their actions here, they're going to have a huge impact on how this whole global lithium industry develops.
Right.
Will it be a race to the bottom, where profits are all that matter? Or will we see a more ethical, more sustainable approach?
It feels like a pivotal moment.
It is.
We're at a crossroads, and the decisions made by these key players like Saudi Arabia, they're going to have ripple effects all over the world.
They will.
So are we just trading one form of resource dependency for another? Or is there a chance, a real chance, to create a truly sustainable and equitable energy future?
Those are the big questions, aren't they?
They are.
And I think those social media comments, the ones you brought up,
Yeah.
they're a good reminder that this isn't just about, technology or economics. It's about values.
It is.
It's about the kind of future we want to build.
One comment in particular really stuck with me. It asked, will this be a repeat of the oil era, or can we do better this time?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it?
It is.
And I think the answer, well, it lies in our awareness.
Right.
Our willingness to hold these leaders accountable and our commitment to demanding a more responsible and sustainable approach to this whole white gold rush.
Yeah, I think you're right. It's a lot to unpack, but it's incredibly important. So where do we go from here? What are the key takeaways from all of this?
Well, I think it's clear that Saudi Arabia is making a serious play in this lithium market. They're hedging their bets, exploring every single avenue, and, they're aiming to control that entire value chain.
Right.
It's a bold strategy, no doubt, and it's driven by, I think, a combination of economic ambition and, a desire to stay relevant in a world that's moving away from oil.
But it's not a simple story, is it? There are potential benefits like, economic diversification, a shift towards cleaner energy.
Right.
But there are also these risks, like potential environmental damage, geopolitical tensions, and, the possibility that we're just trading one resource dependency for another.
Exactly. And ultimately, I think that the outcome of this whole white gold rush, it hinges on the choices we make, both individually and collectively. Will we demand transparency and accountability? Will we prioritize sustainability over short-term profits? Those are the questions that will really determine whether this transition leads to a genuinely better future.
Right.
Or if it's just a reshuffling of the old power dynamics.
It really does feel like we're standing on the edge of something huge.
Yeah.
It's a whole new era.
A whole new era. Yeah, you're right.
But like you said, we can't just get swept up in the excitement of all this new tech.
No, absolutely not. We got to be mindful of the potential downsides,
Right.
The unintended consequences.
Right, because history is full of examples where these big technological leaps forward, even the ones with good intentions,
right,
they end up creating new problems or making the old ones even worse.
Exactly.
And in this case, it seems like the biggest risk is that we just end up, repeating the mistakes of the oil era.
Yeah, that's the big one, isn't it?
Right. We can't let white gold become, just another tool for resource control and all that geopolitical maneuvering.
No, we can't. We have to break free from that old way of thinking.
Right.
This transition to a cleaner energy future.
Yeah.
It can't just be about swapping one resource for another.
Yeah.
It has to be about creating a more equitable and sustainable system.
For everyone.
For everyone, yeah, exactly.
Okay, so how do we do that? How do we actually make sure that this white gold rush actually leads to a better future?
Well, I think first and foremost, we need to demand transparency.
Transparency from
the key players.
Right, like Saudi Arabia.
Yeah, Saudi Arabia, the other countries involved in lithium production.
Okay.
We need to know where this lithium's coming from, how it's being extracted, and what the environmental and social impacts are.
And it's not just about holding governments and corporations accountable, right?
Right.
Consumers have a role to play too.
Mm-hmm. Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. We can make choices about the products we buy, the companies we support, the technologies we invest in.
We can vote with our wallets.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And we can push for, stricter regulations, ethical sourcing practices, and robust recycling programs.
So it's about being, informed consumers.
Yeah.
Advocating for change, demanding better from these companies that are shaping this new electric future.
Yeah, that's a big part of it. And it's also about thinking beyond just electric vehicles.
Oh, right. I
mean, lithium it's just one piece of the puzzle.
Right.
We need to invest in renewable energy infrastructure.
Okay.
Improve public transportation.
Right.
Encourage, more sustainable consumption patterns overall.
So it's about It's about a fundamental shift in how we think about energy, isn't it?
I think so, yeah.
Moving away from this extractive model,
Yeah.
this consumerist mindset,
Yeah.
towards something more circular, more sustainable.
That's the ultimate goal, isn't it? And it's not just about the technology.
Right.
It's about, well, it's about a shift in mindset,
Yeah.
recognizing that we're all interconnected,
Right.
and that our choices have consequences
They do.
that go way beyond ourselves.
It's a lot to think about.
It is.
But it's also really exciting.
Yeah,
We have this incredible opportunity
we do.
to create a truly different future.
Better future, yeah.
Yeah, one that's powered by clean energy,
Right.
driven by innovation,
Yeah.
grounded in sustainability and social responsibility.
I love that.
Yeah, and that's what makes this whole white gold rush
Yeah.
so fascinating and so important. It's not just about some new resource, it's about a chance to rewrite the rules.
Yeah.
To build a better world.
For ourselves and, well, for future generations.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So to wrap this all up,
Yeah.
it seems like Saudi Arabia's ambitions, their lithium ambitions, they're like a microcosm of this larger transition that we're all going through.
Oh, yeah, there.
They're navigating this complex landscape, balancing their economic interests with environmental concerns.
Right.
And they're trying to position themselves as leaders in this new electric era.
And their success or failure, well, it's going to depend not only on their own choices,
Right.
but also on the actions of other countries, corporations, individuals.
It's a collective challenge.
It is.
And it requires a collective response.
I think that's a great way to put it.
So as we move forward into this uncertain but also incredibly promising future,
Yeah.
here's a final thought.
Okay.
Can we learn from the mistakes of the past
Right.
and harness the power of this white gold
Yeah.
to create a truly sustainable and equitable energy future? Or will we just repeat the same patterns of resource exploitation and geopolitical competition that have defined so much of human history?
It's the big question. It is.
And the answer lies with all of us.
It does. Thanks for joining me on this deep dive.
It's been a pleasure, as always.